You know, there's some kind of unwritten rule in the universe. There's some kind of unwritten rule out there in the ether that says the automatic update for your computer systems will take place like 2 seconds before you need it most. Never happens overnight. Never happens when I'm sleeping. It always happens when I'm about to go live for more K Saves the Republic. But that's okay, because we got it all situated. We're all good to go. We're all updated. We've installed the new software. We have everything going. I had to make some adjustments to this and that and the other. And then I had to sign back into something and something. And then now we're ready. Now we're rip-roaring and ready to go with another fantastic edition of Mark K Saves the Republic, your favorite political talk show for truth, justice, and the American way. Also, a little bit of entertainment, some yucks. That's what we're going for here. We go yuck. Somebody said, Mark, can you describe your show? And I go, yeah, no, I don't think anybody can. But it's funny and it's entertaining and it's informative. And Patriots all over the globe really seem to enjoy it. And they go, what's a Patriot? And I go, if you got to ask, then here's the thing. If you know, right? If you know, you know. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. We're really so excited that you're here. And thank you for watching on. Oh, I got to turn off this thing too. Like I said, every time I reload something, let me turn this off here real quick because people are getting confused by the 47 Daily. There we go. The 47 Daily, by the way, is our daily morning podcast. We have so much fun doing a podcast that we do two. We do the 47 Daily Morning Podcast. That is your morning update of all things coming from the White House. Everything from the Trump administration. The truth, though. Not like the fake news media version, not the whitewashed or the I guess blue washed, because it comes from the Democrats. No, none of that stuff. What we do here is what we give you is the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And that's coming directly from Donald Trump's lips to your ears. Well, from the White House to my mouth to your ears for all 4 years. That's our motto on the 47 Daily Podcast. And then today, or then every other day at 1 o'clock, or every day at 1 o'clock, we do our other podcast. I'll get it out there eventually. The one that you're currently listening to. And I got to tell you, Donald Trump yesterday, I knew that he was making some changes, right? I knew that, like yesterday, for example, we shared with you this. I think I posted this on my Facebook or whatever. Donald Trump went on Truth Social and he said any and all documents, proclamations, executive orders, memorandums, or contracts signed by order of the now infamous and unauthorized autopen within the administration of Joseph R. Biden Jr. are hereby null, void, and of no further force or effect. Anyone receiving pardons, commutations, or any other legal document so signed, please be advised that said document has been fully and completely terminated and is of no legal effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, that was yesterday. And so we knew that Donald Trump was going to make some changes to some of the things that some of the things that Joe Biden did. We knew that he was going to take Joe Biden's legacy, or the legacy of the auto pen, or the legacy of whoever was controlling the auto pen at the time, because we know it wasn't Joe Biden. We knew he was going to start to slowly dismantle that, shred it, if you will, put it through the paper shredder of history, and just, have it destroyed, because let's face it was all bad stuff anyway. Pardoning Adam Schiff, for example, Dr. Fauci pardoning, didn't he pardon Adam Kinzinger? Adam Kinzinger, I don't think took it though. One of them, somebody got a pardon and I think denied. I think it was Adam Kinzinger said, I don't want it, which it doesn't matter because Donald Trump just voided it anyway. So it doesn't matter if you wanted it or not. If you got it, it wouldn't be any good. But the first thing Donald Trump did today, and I was a little shocked by this, Donald Trump just earlier today, right before I turned on the microphone and the bright shiny lights, right before I donned my Mark K for Congress hat, right before all of that, Donald Trump, get this, he pardoned a Democrat, which I'm going to be honest, I didn't see this one coming. Henry Cuellar, Democrat from Texas. You may remember he was indicted for, I guess they called it racketeering or bribery or something. He got like money from Azerbaijan through a Mexican bank. It was really, anyway, it was like $600,000. I mean, it wasn't anything to squat. It was a lot of money, but he got all this money, and the Democrats, a Democrat grand jury, they threw him in jail. Well, Donald Trump, him and his wife, Donald Trump just sprung him. Trump just wrote, for years, the Biden administration weaponized the justice system against their political opponents and anyone who disagreed with them. One of the clearest examples of this was when Crooked Joe used the FBI and DOJ to take out a member of his own party, and highly respected Congressman Henry Cuellar bravely spoke out against open borders and the Biden border catastrophe. Sleepy Joe went after the congressman and even the congressman's wonderful wife, Imelda, simply for speaking the truth. It is un-American, and as I previously stated, the radical left Democrats are a complete and total threat to democracy. They will attack, rob, lie, cheat, destroy, and decimate anyone who dares to oppose their far left agenda, an agenda that, if left unchecked, will obliterate our magnificent country. Because of these facts and others, I am hereby announcing my full and unconditional pardon of beloved Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar and Imelda. Henry, I don't know you, but you can sleep well tonight. Your nightmare is finally over. So a Democrat that was sent to rot in a prison cell with his wife by Joe Biden and the Democrats has just been pardoned by President Donald Trump. And again, it's interesting because I don't know. I guess it's interesting because he said he nullified the pardons and the commutations, but I guess since that was an indictment and a conviction by a court, he had to then issue a pardon. So he gets rid of all of Joe Biden's pardons, and the first pardon he issues after that is for a Democrat that Joe Biden targeted. He is not only getting rid of all of Joe Biden's corruption, but he's also undoing all of the weaponization that Joe Biden engaged in during his 4 years in the White House. It really is interesting and kind of fun to watch. I'm going to be honest with you. He's closing the border back up and he's sending everybody home. He's boosting the military and he's making America great again. He's making sure that drug boats from Venezuela don't, bring their drugs to the United States of America where they can kill 25,000 people. He's boosting the economy. He's bringing peace. Joe Biden did the opposite of bringing peace. As soon as Joe Biden became president, there was mass chaos. There was mass chaos in Afghanistan, in Ukraine, in the Middle East. All of these things happened under Joe Biden's reign. October 7th in Israel, that happened when Joe Biden was president. Ukraine and being invaded by Russia, that happened while Joe Biden was president. He was powerless to stop it. All of these things, the failed withdrawal from Afghanistan where they basically had to flee. And hundreds of Afghanis were brought into the country unvetted and probably illegally, and hundreds more were left to die at the hands of the Taliban. And of course, all of our American assets, $85 billion worth of military equipment left there in the Taliban hands, hundreds of millions of dollars in cash, Bagram Air Force Base. And oh yeah, let's not forget the 13 brave American men and women, the Marines who were killed at Abbey Gate, when an ISIS-K bomber was able to get in close enough to kill them, and like we said, hundreds of others who were waiting to get to the airport and flee Afghanistan. It was tragic. It was horrible. It was chaotic. It was Joe Biden. And for whatever reason, Joe Biden didn't get the kind of scrutiny by the press that Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, they're getting just totally reamed by the press corps, the Washington Post, the New York Times, every single news channel, The View, whatever. They're all out there. Republicans and Democrats are attacking them for this Venezuela drug boat thing going on. And yesterday we were watching live the end of the cabinet meeting, really exciting cabinet meeting. And at the very end of it, Donald Trump was asked some questions and he talked about the drug boats and he talked about how Somalians are garbage. Which we'll get to here, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. But here's what he said once again about the drug. This is important to listen to again, because here's Donald Trump's take on the Venezuelan drug boats and this story going around that that Pete Hegseth and the naval admiral in charge were just bloodthirsty and decided that they were going to take multiple pot shots at innocent civilians clinging for their lives to a boat in the Atlantic.
An attack. It wasn't one strike, two strikes, three strikes. Somebody asked me a question about the second strike. I didn't know about the second strike. I didn't know anything about people. I wasn't involved in it. I knew they took out a boat. But I would say this, they had a strike. I hear the gentleman that was in charge of that is extraordinary.
By the way, let me pause right there and just share this with you. What Donald Trump said is, look, if you're breaking it down by, piece by piece, shot by shot, missile by missile, bomb by bomb, whatever it is, okay, there's multiple hits. But it was one strike. It was one attack. It's like when we went to Iran. We flew into Iran under the cover of darkness. We had B-2 bombers. They dropped multiple munitions on Iran. It was one attack. And the goal of the attack was to neutralize the target. Same thing in this case. Same thing in really all cases. I think in every case that you have, you look at the goal, and the goal is to obliterate the target, take out narco-terrorists, stop them from bringing drugs to the country, make sure that there's no threat. And that's all they did. They neutralized the threat. They neutralized the terrorists. They neutralized the boat. They sunk it. And they made sure that nothing was going to happen, that these drugs weren't going to get to the United States of America and accidentally kill 25,000 American men and women. So that was their goal. That was their target. And Donald Trump sees it that way. And Pete Hegseth sees it that way. One attack. Whether you fire one missile or two, it's one coordinated attack with a desired outcome that was met.
Extraordinary person. Let Pete speak about him. But Pete was satisfied. Pete didn't know about second attack having to do with two people, and I guess Pete would have to speak to it. I can say this, I want those boats taken out, and if we have to, we'll attack on land also, just like we attack on sea. And there's very little coming in by sea. I think we've knocked out over 90% of it. There's very little, and I understand that. There's very little. We're saving hundreds of thousands of lives with those pinpoint attacks. It's an amazing thing when you see a boat going along, and a lot of the press would like to say they're not, you see the boat, they're not maybe drugs. You see these boats, first of all, who has 5 engines on the back of a boat going in weird directions and loaded up with lots of white containers? Their bags or things. No, they've done an amazing job, and Peter's done an amazing job. Pete, you could probably better answer the question.
No, you're spot on, sir. I think you got to start with the baseline, which Marco laid out, everybody's laid out. We've got 20 million people invading our country over 4 years. We don't know where they're coming from. That includes Tren de Aragua and cartels and violent criminals. They bring drugs, and you mentioned it, Mr. President, poisoning, an intentional poisoning of the American people, killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. So the president had the courage to designate these cartels as designated terrorist organizations. Now, a number of us here served in the military and spent 20 years fighting terrorists like Al-Qaeda and ISIS on the other side of the world. How do you treat Al-Qaeda and ISIS? Do you arrest them and treat them, pat them on the head and say, don't do that again? Or do you end the problem directly by taking a lethal, kinetic approach? And that's the way President Trump has authorized the War Department to look at these cartels. And I wish everybody could be in the room watching our professionals.
You should be careful what you wish for, because then what's going to happen is the press corps is going to demand. Now, okay, you invited us in the room. You said you wish we could be in the room. Let us in the room. And that's just not going to happen. But that's basically what he said. He goes, look, these are terrorist organizations. They've been designated a terrorist organization. And what's really interesting to me is that we're starting to now see, this is really wild. We're starting to now see Democrats come out and say that these narco-terrorists are not a terrorist organization. There was one clip. Hang on, I forgot to pull it earlier today. There was one clip of a what's his name? Here we go. This is that was Senator Rand Paul. There was another Democrat who said basically narco terrorists. Oh, here we go. Listen to this. This is Jack Reed. Okay. This is Senator Jack Reed. He's the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee. Listen to Jack Reed, and he's very difficult to understand because he's got one of those old mushly mouths. But listen to him try to defend these narco terrorists and claim that they're actually just good. They're good people.
One of the factors that drives youth in the United States is demand. And most narco traffickers are not in those boats. They pay people to do that. And usually people who are not significantly involved with narco trading, it's the way they make money.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's a way they make money. So look, these people listen to what he's saying. This is the Democrat defense. He's saying, look, these narco traffickers, which he refuses to say terrorists. He doesn't want to say they're narco terrorists, but that's what they are. He goes, these narco traffickers, they're not terrorists. They're people that are paid to take illegal drugs to the United States. Okay. Well, once you accept money from the criminal element, the criminal organization, once you throw in with the terrorists, I mean, you're kind of a terrorist yourself, aren't you? Like, there's no coming back from that. Once you say, oh, no, I'm not a gang member. I just drive the car for the gang after they commit criminal acts. I'm not a gang member. I'm just their lawyer, and I lie to try to get them out of jail. None of that. That doesn't work. A criminal is a criminal. If you don't want to get blown to smithereens by American military in the water, then don't take the money to traffic the boat. That's a Democrat saying, oh, these are just innocent people just driving boats for a living. Yeah, filled with deadly fentanyl.
One of the factors that drives youth in the United States is demand. And most narco traffickers are not in those boats. They pay people to do that. And usually people who are not significantly involved with narco trading, it's the way they make money.
Yeah, I just make a living. I'm not just a narco trader. I'm not a narco terrorist. I'm a narco trader. It's just, and Sunny Hostin, I don't even know. I forget her name. Sunny, who's ironically named, from The View, says we need to take care of these people, not blow them out of the water.
I can't speak to the law of it. I don't know, I'm not a geopolitical expert, but in terms of the law of it, you're right, Sarah. That is why those Army vets explained, do not follow, you do not have to follow illegal orders. You know why? Because if this is deemed to have been war crimes, which by all accounts right now, there are 7 sources that said Pete Hegseth did say kill them all, even after there were 2 survivors, which you're supposed to do under international law. You are supposed to take those fighters as war criminals, prisoners of war, and you're supposed to give them refuge, and you're supposed to take care of them, and then you are supposed to put them into a court of law. Instead,
you're supposed to give them refuge. You're supposed to take care of them. Okay? This is exactly why, and again, I'm no geopolitical lawyer. I'm no lawyer at all. I was waitlisted by one of the finest law schools in the country. But as Sonny has basically begun this clip by saying, I don't know what I'm talking about, but let me go ahead and talk about it. I'll do the same. As far as I understand, that's when you're talking about enemy combatants in a war scenario between 2 actual national entities. For example, Ukraine and Russia, or if we went to war with Canada. We couldn't just execute the Royal Canadian Mounted Police if we thought, if we saw them clinging for their life to a boat. We would have to take them in and give them some, Canadian whiskey and some maple syrup and ask them, are you okay, eh? And then we could prosecute them for whatever. But these are narco terrorists. These are criminals. It's a totally different scenario. They're not protected. The drug cartels, Tren de Aragua, what's the other one? The MS-13, these people are not protected by the War Crimes Act. They're criminals. They're just criminals. They're not national entities. This is not a geopolitical, this is not 2 geopolitical, countries battling it out, duking it out. It's so ridiculous and it's so stupid, the things that these people say. But then again, remember, they are Democrats. There was one, gosh, where was it? I wish I had it. I forget who it was, but it was one of these senators who basically said narco-terrorism is a made-up word. And hold on, let me see if I'm going to try narco-terrorist made up. It was, what's his name? The guy that I hate. I mean, there's so many of them. Here it is. There we go. This is, okay, here we go. Hold on, who is this? Listen carefully. This is Jim Hines. Thank you. This is Democrat Jim Hines. Listen to what he says about narco-terrorists.
There is no such thing as a narco-terrorist.
Okay. Says who? There is no such thing as a narco-terrorist.
There is no such thing as a narco-terrorist. There are very, very bad narcotics people, cartels, etc., but they're desperate to make this look like it's ISIS or Al-Qaeda because that's the very thin line on which their illegal use of the United States military to take these people out resides.
Okay. That's Jim Hines. He's a ranking member of the Intelligence Committee. Jim Hines says there's no such thing as a narco-terrorist. They're just really, 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 really bad narcotics traffickers.
There is no such thing as a narco-terrorist. There are very, very bad narcotics people.
Very, very bad narcotics people. There's no such thing as a narco-terrorist, but there are such things as very, very, very bad narcotics people. It's almost unfair. I don't even have to say anything. Here's the best thing about the Democrats these days. I don't have to mock them. I don't have to rip them apart. I don't have to explain to you what they're trying to, the idiocy I just have to play them the clips. If I play you this clip over and over again, you will eventually think to yourself, how on earth did this guy get into a position of power? How on earth is this one of the two most qualified people in the entire state of Connecticut to represent the United States or to represent the people of the United States of Connecticut in the United States Senate? How is this guy the ranking member on the Intelligence Committee? This is just, there's no such thing as a narco-terrorist, but there is such a thing as a very, very, very bad narcotics person. That's what you're going with?
There is no such thing as a narco-terrorist. There are very, very bad narcotics people,
narcotics people. Here's the thing. Here's a fun fact for the Democrat Party. There's no such thing as climate change, yet it doesn't seem to change your stance on climate change or the fact that you spend billions and billions of dollars on taxpayer money on these green new scams that Barack Obama and AOC and everyone else want. I mean, she wanted you to build a train to Hawaii and to Europe. That was her whole plan because of climate change, which there's no such thing. That's a made up word. There's no such thing as, abortion is abortion. It's not women's health care. January 6th was a peaceful and patriotic protest. It wasn't an insurrection. There was no Russian collusion. You make up these words all the time when it suits you. Man, you love making up these words all the time when it's on your side of the aisle. But Donald Trump says these are narco-terrorists, which I'm going to be honest with you. There's more evidence to prove that these are narco-terrorists than there is to prove that abortion is women's health care. It's 6 one, half dozen of the other. What about undocumented worker? You know what an undocumented worker is? An illegal alien. That's what it is. Illegal alien is the actual term. Undocumented worker is the Democrat term to make you feel like they're not that bad. Narco-terrorist is the actual term. Really, really, really bad drug person is the Democrat term. Because they don't want you to feel, but they want you to shelter and give them refuge, as Sonny Hostin would. It's really kind of kooky. It's really kind of. That was the first thing that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth went after at the briefing yesterday, or not the briefing, but the cabinet meeting. Which I got to tell you, I've only watched. Of the 9 cabinet meetings, maybe I've watched 4 of them all the way through. I've caught the highlights of all of them, but I've only watched 4 of them all the way through. And this one was one of the best. I think Donald Trump, and I mentioned this earlier today, I think here's what happened. Donald Trump sat through the entire 2.5-hour cabinet meeting, and they talked about the drug boats, and Pete Hegseth had his whole moment, his whole Colonel Jessup moment, which we talked about yesterday. And Marco Rubio got up and showed why Marco Rubio is great. And J.D. Vance got up and showed why J.D. Vance will probably be the next president and Marco Rubio will be the next vice president. We went into that whole thing again. But I think at the end of the meeting, Donald Trump was sitting there and one of two things crossed his mind. Either A, he thought to himself, this meeting was good, but it was kind of forgettable. There was nothing really to come out of it that I think anyone's really going to talk about. That's A. Or B, he was a little taken aback by Pete Hegseth's speech or worried that Pete Hegseth would be, the one that they all talked about afterward, or they dissect his words left, right, and center. So Donald Trump lay into Tim Walz and the Somalians living in Minnesota just to kind of put a nice bow on it. Donald Trump was like, okay, this is the grand finale. This is the last act. This is the final scene. We're going to make it a good one. And he just ripped into Tim Walz, Tampon Tim Walz, the retarded governor of Minnesota, and the Somalians who live there, who he equated to garbage.
Walz is a grossly incompetent man. There's something wrong with him, okay? There's something wrong with him. And when you look at what he's done with Somalia, which is barely a country, they have no anything. They just run around killing each other. There's no structure. And when I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all, but I always watch her for years. I've watched her complain about our Constitution, how she's being treated badly. Our Constitution, the United States of America, is a bad place. Hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody. And I think she's an incompetent person. She's a real terrible person. But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes, or however many lakes they have, they got a lot of lakes, but this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off, and now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at that's. I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I can say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
Yeah, and then they started banging on the table, which I didn't know they did that in. I didn't know they did that in cabinet meetings. I don't know if that was planned or if that was just impromptu. If somebody was so moved, they just started banging on the table. I used to bang on the table in my meetings, and everyone would give me weird looks. That was the worst thing about working for corporate. Well, the worst thing about working for corporate media was that they were all liberals. Every single person that works in corporate media, I don't care what it is, they're all liberals. But anyway, that was the worst part. But the second worst part was they would always say, you never come to meetings. And I go, yeah, meetings aren't really my thing. I'll just read the email later. And they'll be like, you should come to meetings. I go, I don't think I want to go to a meeting because you probably don't want me in the meeting. They go, no, we want you in the meeting. And then I would go to the meeting and I would, bang on a desk or laugh out loud inappropriately or say something that everybody that would be me. I would say something or ask a question and it would just stop and everyone's head would turn and look at me. And I go, was I not supposed to ask that question? You asked if there were any questions, but apparently I asked the wrong question. I would say things that apparently sponsors wouldn't. I don't know who even knows. But then they would get mad at me and I'd say, I didn't want to come to this stupid meeting. You made me come. And then that's what happened. But anyway, so the mayor of Minneapolis, a guy by the name of Jacob Fry. I forget. You know this guy. He's the guy that doesn't have a tie. He's he ran against the Somalian guy, which this is so funny to me. Jacob Fry, whatever, ran against that Somalian dude who lost, but almost won. And he was supported by Ilhan Omar, and he had all these radical ideals and radical ideas. He was very socialist, much like Mamdani. People were comparing him to Mamdani the entire time he was running for mayor of Minneapolis. And, it was a big, important city like New York. And, it's going to fall into the hands of the Somalians. And so he lost, and Jacob Fry won and is going to continue to be the mayor. But he came to the defense of the Somalian community in Minneapolis.
He's wrong, and we want them here. Somali people have been an extraordinary benefit. I'll say it again. Somali people have been a benefit to our city for longer than I have been in our city. They have started businesses and created jobs. They have added to the cultural fabric of what Minneapolis is. They were welcoming to me when I first came out to Minneapolis. In fact, they were one of the first groups that I myself got to know. To, again, villainize an entire group is ridiculous under any circumstances. And the way that Donald Trump is consistently doing it, I think calls into question major constitutional violations. And it certainly violates the moral fabric of what we stand by in this country as Americans.
Let me pull up, if I may. Where is it? Here it is. The National Review. Minnesota's massive welfare fraud scandal. Okay, this is from the National Review. The nation is finally awakening to an ongoing scandal of massive proportions in Minnesota, where state taxpayers have had somewhere north of $1 billion stolen from them by concentric rings of welfare fraudsters based in and around Minneapolis's tightly knit Somali diaspora community. So we're getting mixed signals here. Donald Trump says what the National Review says, which is, $1 billion in fraud. $1 billion in welfare fraud has been uncovered. And the fraudsters are the tightly knit Somali diaspora community. It is a story with far deeper implications than the mere loss of dollars and cents, one that implicates our national immigration policy, among other things. But let us first note the depth of the fraud and how long it was ignored by the media at large, although not by our friends at Powerline who have been following it from the beginning. In September 2022, the federal government began to indict multiple sets of Minneapolis area Somali Americans on charges of defrauding Minnesota welfare and public assistance programs. First came the Feeding Our Future scandal, where to date, 75 defendants associated with the Somali charitable organization allegedly chose to feed on the sudden flood of post-2020 COVID-era relief money available to anyone willing to claim a vaguely eleemosynary cause. I don't even know what that means. The FBI raided their fake meal locations in January. The federal indictments have been piling up since then, but this turns out to have been only one of multiple government fraud schemes emerging from the Twin Cities Somali community during the COVID era. On September 18th, federal prosecutors also dropped the first in a wave of indictments against 8 defendants for defrauding the state's Housing Stabilization Services program to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. There are more webs of fraud yet to untangle, and it seems they penetrate the entire local Somali community. A report by Ryan Thorpe and Christopher Rufo over at City Journal caught Donald Trump's attention and led him to blow up the story and move to revoke temporary protected status for all Somali immigrants. It goes on and on. I mean, there's pages and pages. This is something that has been longstanding, that has been massive, and is scandalous. And billions of dollars of taxpayer money have gone to these Somali communities. But when Donald Trump says they offer nothing to society, Mayor Jacob Frey stands up and says, no.
He's wrong, and we want them here.
We want them here defrauding us. We want them here stealing our money. We want them here committing all of this welfare fraud. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you want somebody to be denaturalized or kicked out of your community or kicked out of your state or your country if they were lying to you and stealing from you and breaking the law? How many more indictments have to be handed down? How much more money has to be, washed away? How many more taxpayers have to suffer? How many more charities have to be found to be fraudulent before we realize that this is all just a scam? There was another one, and this is not the Somalis, but this shows the kind of widespread fraud that's going on. This is from California. Listen to this.
A few weeks ago, a business owner here in California told me that one of his new employees asked to be paid in cash, not on payroll. Why? The business owner asked. Well, because the employee from Afghanistan was worried that he would lose his welfare payments. How much is that? $7,000 a month. That is $84,000 a year here in California. So when we look at this massive scandal in Minnesota, $1 billion from the social services system in fraud and corruption, you can be sure it is much, much worse right here in California. We already know that over $20 billion in the pandemic from the EDD scandal was sent in welfare payments to people in jail, on death row, people who are dead. We know that over $24 billion was completely lost on homelessness spending. All that money spent, and we still have situations like this all over California, everywhere you look. That's why today I am calling for a complete and total audit of every part of California's bloated welfare state, so we find the corruption and the fraud and the waste in Gavin Newsom's California and end it.
Yeah, that's Steve Hilton, by the way. He's Fox News contributor who is running for governor of California in a really crowded field. I mean, Gavin Newsom is out, Eric Swalwell, Tom Steyer, Katie Porter. There's a whole Javier Becerra. There's a whole bunch of people running for governor. But, Steve Hilton, he's got a cool accent and he's doing these videos and he's a Fox News contributor and we'll see what happens. He's a Republican, though, so probably it's not going to fly. But he's out there saying, look, there's Afghan nationals here in California who are begging to be paid in cash because if there's a record of their payment, if there's a record that they're getting, that they have a job and they're getting a decent salary, then guess what? They lose their welfare benefits. So that's double dipping. First of all, that seems to be some kind of fraud on the part of the employer if they go along with it. And second of all, that's definitely welfare fraud. And it's happening, wouldn't you know it, in California, where the governor probably just turns and looks away because, well, he needs the votes. He needs those illegal foreign votes in order to win pretty much anything. But you know what? And that's the way it is everywhere in Congress, which there's a couple things going on in Congress. Now, you may have forgotten that Congress actually did stuff because they didn't do stuff for so long. First of all, they took off the entire month of August. They took off 6 weeks in August. Then after that, they came back for like a minute. And after they came back for just a minute, what happened was they decided they were going to shut down the government during the government shutdown, and they took another like 54 days off. So now they're back, and there's a handful of people who are trying to do some stuff, but leadership, and by leadership we mean Mike Johnson, is getting in the way. One of them is Anna Paulina Luna, and she's been working. She and Tim Burchett are super buddy, and they've been working to pass this, something that I'm very fond of and something that's a staple of my campaign. In fact, if you go to my website, markkforcongress.com, you'll see it on there. In fact, you know what? Maybe I'll pull that up here in just a minute. But Anna Paulina Luna and Tim Burchett, they're working on pushing for no congressional stock trading. No congressional stock trading. Let's take a look here at markkforcongress.com. Mark K is Florida's conservative voice. Mark K's top priorities: cut taxes and abolish the IRS. It's a good one. Slash spending and shrink government. Also good. Pass a term limits amendment. That's all good. Protect parents' rights. Congressional stock trading, I guess it should be in here. I thought it was on here. God, we're going to add that. But ending congressional stock trading is a huge thing. It's a huge problem, and it's something we need to take care of. Well, Anna Paulina Luna is a little miffed at how slowly this amendment or this bill has made it through the House of Representatives, and I think we know why. So she's now pushing for a discharge petition. And of course, the king of discharge petitions, Tim Burchett, is right there with her.
Hey everyone, so I just left the floor with Representative Burchett, and after our bipartisan coalition and talking this morning, we have decided, because of a lack of movement from the House of Representatives, to initiate the discharge petition on banning insider trading, meaning it is live now. Now, if leadership wants to put forward a bill that would actually do that and end the corruption, we're all for it, but we're tired of the partisan games. This is the most bipartisan thing in U.S. history, and it's time that the House of Representatives listens to the American people. So it is now live. Anything to say, Burchett?
Let's make America proud. Hey, this place is broken. It is a complete open sewer. Let's at least tell America we're trying to do something right. Anybody making 600% return on their dadgum investment needs to leave Washington, and then you get their butts up to Wall Street.
Go to Wall Street.
Yeah, go to Wall Street. Leave, what is it, Constitution Avenue? Go up to Wall Street if you want to make 600% return on your investment. It's a sewer. It's an open sewer. Man-made and disgusting and filled with filth and wretchedness and grossness and poop. That's what Washington, D.C. is. And Tim Burchett and Anna Paulina Luna are trying to clean up. They're like some really unlikely superhero duo, or like it's like a cop show, right? Where you got the crotchety old timer who's paired up with the new hot lieutenant, but then they become like fast friends and they solve crimes. That's it. Doesn't that look like that? It looks like some kind of Netflix show when you look at the two of them together. But it doesn't matter. They're doing good stuff. Tim Burchett, by the way, also, and this is kind of cool, he put in to be the chairman of the new DOGE committee, because the DOGE committee needs a new chairman. Where is it? Here it is. Listen to this.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett, just leaving Oversight Committee. I'd give those Democrats, they always have a good meal in there. Why don't we ever have a good meal? Anyway, I have officially put my name in to chair the DOGE committee. Marjorie is leaving Congress, and that'll leave the committee wide open. I sure would love to an opportunity. And I know cards are stacked against me. I don't do a lot to endear myself to the leadership, but frankly, they don't do a lot to endear themselves to me. So, and y'all know how this game works. You got to raise a lot of money and kiss a lot of butt. I don't do a good job at either one of those. So, but anyway, I sure would like an opportunity to do that. I think I got the backbone and I guess the guts to go after this spending, and I think I know where a lot of it's hidden. And honestly, I'd propose some dadgum legislation to do it, and I would get with folks like y'all out there on and social media, put some pressure on some of these gutless legislators to pass some of this stuff. So anyway, we'll keep on fighting. Thank y'all for sitting there.
So that's Tim Burchett. And a couple things of interest that I want to point out there.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett.
Yeah, no, I got it. A couple things of interest that I want to point out there. First of all, he said the Democrats have way better food than the Republicans. So maybe run as a Democrat because the food's better. Also, that doesn't shock me at all because the Democrats have no problem spending your money on better food. They're gonna spend all your money for their benefit. They're gonna get the chafing dishes and the smoked salmon and the croquettes, and they're gonna have some kind of caviar station, and they're gonna have quail egg omelets and whatever. I don't know, whatever fancy Corbel Brute. I guess probably not Corbel. What's the other one? What am I thinking of? What's the fancy schmancy one Cristal? That's what I'm thinking of. You go in for lunch and they're like, you walk into the Democrats committee meeting for lunch and the first thing they do is they go mimosa. And you're like, oh, is it Corbel? No, it's Cristal and freshly squeezed orange juice, but not from Florida because we hate them. Anyway, so that's that. And so then he goes, look, Marjorie Taylor Greene is stepping down. We know she's leaving Congress on January 5th. And when you leave Congress, you have to vacate your committee chairmanships or your committee chair positions. And she is the chairperson of the Doge Committee, which I guess is still around, even though Doge apparently has been whittled down, or you don't hear that much about it anymore. There's still a Doge Committee in Congress, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is the chairperson. Well, Tim Burchett threw his hat in the ring and said, I want to do it too. I want to do it. I want to take Marjorie Taylor Greene's spot. I want to be the new Doge Committee chair. I want to be the one that helps cut out and root out the waste in government, the waste in Congress, the waste in Washington. We got to make sure that it's cleared out. And we got to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to protect your taxpayer dollars. And quite frankly, I can't think of anyone who'd be better off at it than him. He'd be amazing at it. But you heard what he said. He said, look, there's two things in Washington. First, you got to play ball and you got to raise money. You got to play nice and raise money. And he goes, I'm not good at either of those things. They don't really hold me in high regard. He goes, but I don't really hold them in high regard either. They don't, I don't really suck up to them, but then they don't suck up to me either. And he goes, and then raising money. And that's the thing they don't tell you. I'm not going to name names, but I was in a congressperson's office and they were writing out handwritten thank you cards. And I said to this congressperson, I said, oh, what are the thank you cards for? And this congressperson said to me, oh, these are donors. These are donors. And I said, oh, it was like nowhere near an election or whatever. I go, what were they donating for? And this congressperson said, well, you got to raise $10,000 a week. Okay. A week as a Republican congressperson, or else the Republican Party, they don't, the congressional Republicans, they won't help you out. And I said to this person, I said, is this for your campaign? And they go, no, this is for the party. That's how you get the committee meeting seats. That's how you get the committee chairmanships. That's how you get the positions of power. You have to use your position to get money, not for your own campaign, but for the party. And that's and if you raise a lot of money for the party, then guess what? You get to be the committee chairperson. If you raise a lot of money for the party, guess what? You get to go to the head of the class. If you raise a lot of money for the party, you get to go to all of the right benefits, all of the right shindigs. You get the presidential, the endorsement. Why? Because you raise a lot of money, not for yourself, for the party. And that's how they reward you. It's a self-fulfilling. They want, when you're a congressperson in the Republican Party and the Democrat Party as well. I mean, it's not one party over the other. Your first role is to raise money for the party. Your second role is to represent the people that sent you there. And if you don't raise money for the party, it's slim to none that you're going to be representing those people for a long period of time, because the Republican Party will do anything at all to stop you. And there was rumor that Tim Burchett wanted to run in Tennessee for Senate because Marsha Blackburn is running for governor. Probably she'll win. And that vacates a Senate seat. And Tim Burchett wanted to run for Senate. And I don't know if he still is. I don't think that he is. I think he's kind of I think it's been explained to him that he's not going to win. Why? He just told you right there. Because he doesn't kiss butt and he doesn't raise money. And if you don't kiss butt and you don't raise money, you're not going to get the help and the support of the Republican Party. So they're going to support somebody else who did raise money and who did kiss butt. And the problem we have with Congress is too many butt kissers, too many money raisers, too many inside traders. That whole thing, that whole insider trading thing, that is something that should not, I mean, this just should go to show you that should have been passed years ago, decades ago. When we started hearing the stories about Nancy Pelosi, the first time the Pelosi Act was introduced, that should have been passed, but it wasn't. Why? Because it's not just Nancy Pelosi who stock trades. It's folks like John Rutherford in the 5th district. And I play you this clip all the time, it's one of my favorite clips. Some people binge watch Stranger Things. I binge watched this video from The Blaze about John Rutherford being guilty of insider trading.
So one of the committees where people have a lot of information is the Appropriations Committee, because they can view almost any vector of government funding. And so, this is Mr. Rutherford's office. He's on the Ethics Committee and the Appropriations Committee. 152 stock trades. Stocks go through the roof. And, actually bought Raytheon stock the day that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if every American could make money off of war.
Wow, imagine if we could all make money off of war. I'd be like, bomb more boats. Let's get more drug boats, more attacks on the drug boats. Why are we stopping the war in Ukraine? If every American's making money off of war, keep them fighting as long as possible. That's the problem. When you pay people large dividends during times of war, they don't want peace. They don't fight for peace. And they're definitely not going to sign on to any petition to end congressional stock trading. Representative Anna Paulina Luna wrote, Representative Greg Steube from Florida. By the way, Representative Anna Paulina Luna is from Florida. Greg Steube is also from Florida, and he has notified her that he'll be signing on to the discharge petition to stop insider trading happening in Congress. All right. So Greg Steube is going to be signing on to the discharge petition to stop insider trading happening in Congress. And my question is, but what about John Rutherford? What about Mr. Stock Trades Go Through the Roof, Mr. 152 illegal stock trades, Mr. 152 ethics violations, Mr. made money off of war, Mr. bought Raytheon stock the day Ukraine was invaded? I would not expect to see his fingerprints or signature on any discharge paper or petition to stop insider trading in Congress. Why? Well, if it's how you're planning for your retirement, you don't really want to burn it down to the ground. That's something that has been great for him and for a handful of others. Like I said, he's not the only one. There's tons of them. And it'll be interesting when this comes up for vote, when we start to see this maneuver take place in Congress. It'll be really interesting to watch and see, and we'll need to pay attention to it. And don't worry, I will pay attention. I will let you know 100%. I'll let you know what's going on, and we will see moving forward who was for it and who was against it. And if they were against it, they have no business being in Congress. Speaking of being in Congress, there was a special election yesterday in Tennessee. There was a special election yesterday in Tennessee, and Ron DeSantis spouted off on it. This special election in Tennessee yesterday was between, what's the name? Van Epps. Is it Matt Van Epps? I used to work with a guy named Will Van Epps. So it's Matt Van Epps. So whenever I hear Van Epps, I always say Will Van Epps, but it's not. It's Matt Van Epps. Republican Matt Van Epps wins closely watched Tennessee special election. That was last night. And this was, you won't hear it. You heard a lot about this leading up to it. You won't hear about it anymore because, well, the Democrats got walloped. Almost a 10-point differentiation. I think it's down to 8 points. It's like something like 8 points. Let's just call it 9 points. Republican Matt Van Epps defeated Democrat Afton Bain in a congressional special election in the western Nashville suburbs, which was being closely watched for signs of Republican weakness going into congressional midterms next year. The Associated Press called the race at 9:47 Eastern, with Van Epps holding a 52-46 lead. So that is 8. I'm sorry, that is 6. That is 6. I thought it was 9 or 8, but anyway, it's a Trump plus 22 district. And so the Democrats are declaring victory. Afton Bain's overperformance in this Trump plus 22 district is historic and a flashing warning sign for Republicans heading into the midterms. Now, that's not wrong. It's a Republican victory, but it's not the kind of victory that they're hoping for. And yeah, at the end of the day, if you get one vote, you're good to go. All you need is more votes. We get it. But at the same time, Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, came out and said something very, very interesting and very apropos. Ron DeSantis wrote, special off-year and midterm elections historically benefit the party out of power because its voters are motivated to vote, while voters of the incumbent party become more complacent. This is more glaring for today's GOP because a chunk of voters who put them in power in 2024 did not show up. Now, I didn't clip the whole thing, but I did want to show you this. I did want to read to you what I wrote underneath it because it's very, very well written and also informative. Hold on, let me go back to my page so I can find. I love quoting my own comments from my own Facebook page. That's when I know I'm really onto something. Here we go. Warning to Republicans. This is from the Facebook page of Mark K. Democrats are right to celebrate the single-digit loss last night, and Republicans are also right to be cautious. Here's why. Number one, Democrats didn't win, but they proved that turnout is their weapon. Even in a red state with a weak candidate, they poured in money and manpower like it was a presidential year. They're already treating every race like it's life or death. For the Democrats, every race is life and death. I want you to know that. Every race is life and death for the Democrats. They have zero to lose. Zero to lose. They could spend all of their money and all of their time and call in all of their political favors and commit all of their crimes. And if they win one more seat or one more Senate seat or anything at all, then they've won because they have absolutely nothing to lose right now. If they gain control of the House of Representatives, that is the equivalent of them winning the presidency because it's all they could manage to do in 2026. Huge coup. Huge. Number two, Republicans didn't lose, but the gap was way tighter than it should have been. That's a warning shot. Complacency kills. Now, this is what we talked about with Donald Trump, which brings us to number three. The GOP base is still Trump driven. When Trump's not on the ballot, the enthusiasm drops. The energy drops, and so do the margins. This election showed exactly that. Now, I'll tell you why the energy drops. The energy drops for a couple of reasons. Number one, presidential elections are always the big thing. That's what everybody's excited about. Also, there's more money. And well, we had a candidate that worked at McDonald's. We had a candidate that worked as a garbage man. We had a candidate that was on the road pretty much 24/7. We had a candidate that got shot in the head and lifted his fist up and yelled, "Fight, fight, fight," under an American flag. We had a debate where our candidate yelled, "They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs." We had President Donald Trump creating massive amounts of publicity, massive amounts of stir. We had people out there like Charlie Kirk, who was organizing the largest ballot chasing organization in history. We had people out there who were doing everything in their power to make sure that President Donald Trump returned to the White House in 2024, and it worked. We don't have that for these little races. We don't have people who are out there making headlines. We don't have people who are out there campaigning. We don't have people who are out there doing the hard stuff. We don't have people out there who are little Donald Trumps making sure that everybody knows what's at stake and making waves and getting their name in the paper so that we can put the right Republicans in power. We don't have that in every single election in the country. Democrats are unified around one message: stop Trump's people. Republicans still have too many factions, too many camps, and too many folks staying home when Trump isn't directly involved. That's true. The Democrats have one mission. Their one mission is to stop Donald Trump at all costs. And every Democrat can unify around that. And when they go out and they campaign, what do they say? We have to stop Donald Trump. Way! What are you going to do when you get to office? I'm going to stop Donald Trump. Woo! What are you going to do? I'm going to go in and stop Donald. We're going to impeach Donald Trump. Yay! That's literally how half of the squad got elected the first time. Rashida Tlaib, at her victory celebration, went into the bar with all of her supporters, and she said, now that I've won, I'm going to go impeach this mother father. And she was talking about President Donald Trump. That was her whole goal. That's how she won her campaign. They're still running on that because Donald Trump's back in office. The Republicans, they're running on, they don't have that one thing. They're arguing with Donald Trump. They're arguing about this. They're arguing about the Epstein files. They're arguing about the War Powers Act. They're arguing about tariffs. They're arguing with each other, and then they're shocked that they're losing strength. I go to Republican fundraisers. I go to Republican parties. I go to Republican meetings. I've been to more Republican meetings this year than I have in my entire life. And you know what people do? They argue with each other about stuff. And when it comes time to vote, there's not one big rallying cry like, we must stop Donald Trump to get people out there to vote. The Democrat turnout machine is already fully activated for 2026. Field teams, digital ops, absentee chasing. They're running midterm level operations right now. Republican turnout, on the other hand, lags unless Trump is rallying the base. That's a structural problem the GOP refuses to address. Independents are shifting back toward candidates who talk about the economy, inflation, and security. The GOP wins these voters when the message is disciplined. When it's not, they drift. Democrats are pouring national money into local races. It's true. They have no reason to spend it on national races, while Republicans are still treating midterms like county fairs. That mismatch is how you get surprise results. Conservative voters want fighters. This is important. Conservative voters want fighters, not placeholders. When the GOP runs safe, establishment picks, enthusiasm collapses. When we run bold candidates with clear convictions, turnout surges. Bold candidates with clear convictions, turnout surges. Tired, old establishment picks, enthusiasm collapses. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. The Republican Party, if they want to maintain power, if they want to protect President Donald Trump's agenda, if they want to keep control of the House of Representatives and the White House and the Senate, they need to audit every candidate in the field now. They need to go in and say, you are a good candidate. You're a bad candidate. Get people enthusiastic. You make them stay home. You are an establishment hack. You haven't done anything in 20 years. We need young, cool, non-corruptible Tim Burchett's and Anna Paulina Luna's, and we'll do Marjorie Taylor Greene's apparently because we're losing the old one. We need people who are irregular candidates, not establishment candidates, who answer only to the voters, who don't take PAC money, and who will fight every single day to do the right thing, whether it's get rid of congressional stock training or impose term limits or get rid of the IRS or any and all of the above. Why? Because they're not paid by these people. They're not on the take for the establishment. And that is something the Republican Party needs. They won't do it because if they went in and they audited all their candidates, they would probably have to replace a good 90% of them. And those are the same candidates that write the letters and raise the money and kiss the butt. That's what you want to avoid. You don't want the kiss butt candidates. You want the candidates like Tim Burchett who get dirty looks, who don't get invited to the party. You want the candidates who are not getting invited to the parties, who are not getting the good food, who are not welcome, in the places where all the powerful people converge, and are not getting the support of the party because they don't support the party. Why? Because the party's corrupt. That's what we need. I don't think we're going to get it, but I'll do my part. Hopefully you'll do your part as well. Hey, speaking of doing fun stuff and helping out, tomorrow night, can't believe it's almost December the 4th. Tomorrow night is our Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament, and we have but a few choice seats available. There are still 2 tickets left at the coveted VIK table where very important Patriots will play poker for the grand prize $1,000 of cash, the K's Kids trophy, which is also very exciting. There's food, there's drink. We just got a guy yesterday, Frank. He ran for office. I was talking to him. He wanted to come in and he donated $500, which was amazing. Got 2 tickets. So like I said, tickets are still available. You can go to www.kskids.com. If you don't want to play poker, and I'm going to lay it on the line. These aren't pros, right? We don't have pros. Some people are good. Some people are not so good. Some people are there for fun. Some people have gotten better over time, but these aren't pros. These are people who come out and play poker for fun, because they want to support a charity. They want to support the kids in the community because they love it. These are not the pros. So if you're not a pro, don't worry about it. You're going to be surrounded by a lot of suburban soccer moms and corporate types and everyone else that's just in it for a good time. And half the time, you'd be shocked at the people that make it to the final table. But there's prizes, and I'm going out to buy eggnog and wine that we can give away, which is going to be it's a whole other exciting twist. I don't want to give it away. But like I said, there's food, a great buffet and drinks. So what I would urge you to do is get your ticket. Now, if you don't want to play, if after that you're still like, I don't want to play, you can come and just spectate. You can watch. We have a bunch of spectators already coming. We had 25 tickets. We have 12 left. So there's still plenty of room to just come and watch and enjoy some food and some fun. You can hang out. You can mingle. I'll be there. A bunch of other people will be there. Hannah will be there if you guys remember her. And it should be it should be a lot of fun. I'm totally stoked about it. And I hope that you're encouraged by it too. And I hope that you make plans to join me. Join all of us. Join all the Patriots for the K's Kids Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament tomorrow night at Best Bet. No walk-ups. Like if you just show up and say, I want a ticket, it's not going to happen. There's no walk-ups. You have to pre-register. We need to know everybody who's coming beforehand. The Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament this Thursday, December the 4th. Listen, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for your attention to this matter. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. If you don't yet subscribe to this podcast, now's no time like the present, huh? Hit that subscribe button, hit the ding-a-ling. Make sure that you are telling this podcast platform, oh, I want more of this. I like this content. I want this content. I crave this content. I need this content. I need more Mark K in my life, and I want you to give him to me every time he does something. And I do a lot every single day. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you set the notifications. Make sure you come back every single day. Make sure you download and listen and learn and engage and become inspired and enlightened and fight.